There's a topic that has always interested me, particularly because I'm a young man making that transition from being a kid to being a full grown man. And it's the topic of coming of age, right? I don't know if you've ever watched those movies where there's like the hero who's called to step up and he really needs to make that jump from being like just a little kid who's just vibing, just playing around to being like, oh crap, like I'm actually responsible for things now and I have to make that step. Or an example I would really like to use is the example of sports, right? In sports, you usually have a lot of these like young players with lots of potential, and you kind of picture what they're going to be like in the future, but it's always a long way from them being like that young player with so much potential to actually being like that player in their prime who's actually winning titles and stuff. And for me, I've always found that so interesting because making that jump is really difficult, but it's also really inspiring. Like another example I really like using is the show called Suits. For those of you that don't know what Suits is, it's a show about high-powered lawyers and like a really like big law firm. It's got Harvey Specter, he's like the main guy, and Mike Ross comes in as like this young apprentice who knows he's got like really good book knowledge, right? But obviously he's very raw and he needs to be like apprenticed. I think that's the word. He needs to be mentored and guided, right? And he needs to like practice and really sharpen his skills. And it's so interesting watching, as the seasons pass by, right? Like first season, he's coming in as a rookie who doesn't even know how to draw up a subpoena. He basically doesn't know how to do anything really. And he has to like be shown how to like get into it. And then once he starts getting into it, again, he's still very raw. He still doesn't have like those sharp skills that like a Harvey Specter would have, right? But then it's always so interesting seeing him in like season 4. I remember seeing him in season 4, like even just something as simple as like the suits, right? Because obviously the show is called Suits. It's about like lawsuits, but then also the fact that they really wear like nice suits and like expensive clothing basically. But like for the men, it's suits. And when Mike Ross first comes in, he doesn't even care about wearing suits. He's like, he didn't even understand why he needs to wear a suit, right? But the suits he was wearing, you could see it's like very, very low quality, doesn't fit well and everything. And then you see in season 4, all of a sudden, like he's wearing suits that are like literally like Harvey's as well. Like he won't be quite at Harvey's level because Harvey's been doing it for like a really long time, but he's there. Like he's competing, he's at a level where he's basically neck and neck with Harvey in terms of like skill now. And also seeing just the suits, like he's upgraded his style now. Now he's wearing the same suits that like Harvey would wear, and that's just so interesting. I mean, you might not be interested in like the show Suits, but like I really love seeing that coming of age. And just to go deeper into it, again, I spoke about sports earlier on about like the young kid like sort of making that transition. I really love football, and I love seeing like because it happens so many times where a young player comes in, they've got so much potential and they get all this pressure put on them, and then it just never comes to fruition because there's so many obstacles, right? Everyone's in your ear telling you you're like the next best thing, and now you actually need to go out there and perform, and you need to do it consistently enough to make that jump. It's insane. But I love seeing like a player who's come in and he's got potential, but again, like picture like an 18, 19-year-old who's just been bought from like Brazil or something, and he's been brought to Europe, and he's good. He's good. He's got lots of potential. He's got like the sky's the limit, but he needs to play consistently. He needs to make sure he doesn't get injured. He needs to get consistent game time and needs to develop. And then seeing that transition from like, oh, he's just this raw talent to being like, oh crap, like now he's like one of our main players and he's winning us like big boy trophies, right? Like that's always interesting. I love seeing that. But yeah, I think for us, like in our lives, the reason it's always inspired me so much is because like as young men, we do want to make that change from being a little kid to being like an established man, right? Who's actually providing like a lot of value to society. And I know for us right now as a society, we're going through this thing called extended adolescence, and it's basically we're just kids for longer, right? I mean, you've seen all this. You probably have heard of like those things how like 100 years ago, like men, like when they were 18, bro, kids were going to war. Like they were going to war. By 21, you were like married with like a kid, or with like one kid and like a second one on the way. Like you were a full-blown man with like a house and a job and everything. Nowadays, you have people living in their parents' house until they're like 35. They've done the stats as well. Like people are taking longer to get their driver's license. People are taking longer to move out of the house. They're taking longer to get like their first job. It's just all of these things. There is a pandemic of extended adolescence, right? And you're watching this, you probably want to get out of that, right? Because let's be honest, guys, like being a young man or like being a little boy, like it sucks, right? Like especially that period of like being like 16 to like, it depends what you do after you move out of the house and stuff, but like that age of like 16 to like 25, even can even extend that to 30, really. Like it sucks because you're still figuring your way through life, right? Like you're still trying to be competent. And again, for me, I see this like firsthand, right? Because I've started like working for the first time this year, and I'm on a training contract and doing accounting, and we have like this period called articles. It's 3 years where you've done like 4 years of studying and like you have technical knowledge, but now you need to spend 3 years like actually applying it and learning like people skills, critical thinking skills, and like problem solving skills, like proper skills that actually make you valuable. And like I'm a first year, so like coming in, it's like you basically don't know anything and you're like literally at the bottom. And yeah, it's not fun, but like it's also inspiring when you reframe the way it is, right? Like I'm making that transition, and again, we all want to make that transition. That's obviously why you would be like on self-improvement, like watching these kind of videos, and you're trying to like make that jump from being like a kid to a man. So how do you make that jump? How do you make that transition? I would say the first thing is definitely, again, changing your identity. And this is always going to be, like I've said this so many times, changing your identity is pervasive. Whatever it is you want to improve in your life, especially if you want to make like a serious transition, it's going to be an identity shift, right? And I can give a nice example, right? The point I'm going to make is that you need to like see yourself as like being a father, especially if you do want to be a father in the future, which I assume most people watching this, you guys want to be fathers as well. Picturing yourself as like being a father is like the ultimate version of you being like a man now, right? Because now you've got like a full human being you're responsible for, and like the mindset shifts. And if you had like a present father growing up, you'll see it as well, right? Like you would see it. Like for me, I see my dad, like, bro, the problems we're struggling with nowadays, extended adolescence, are you crazy, bro? My dad's generation was like straight out of like school, you have to go get a job, like you have to start doing things. And my older sister, like my dad he was a father to her like pretty young. He was like 23, which is, it's still like a year from now for me, but like that's still pretty young. And like you need to like start providing, right? Like the things need to be done. When you're a father, it's very different to like right now. Like you're not going to struggle to wake up out of bed to go and like, oh, I want to go work on my business, but like today I'm feeling really tired, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. None of that. Like literally none of that. Like you have to be on it, because you have literally children, like people you're responsible for, and food needs to be put on the table, right? And things need to be done. I remember that there was a time earlier this year when I needed to go register for tax. It had two particular problems that week that were giving me problems. Like for me, I really struggled with like admin, and like the two things I had that week, I needed to go register for tax, and my landlord, like my landlord was just being really annoying. Like he's a cranky old man, and something happened in the house that he needed to come fix, and just giving us problems about it. So for me, I remember that I was really stressed about those two things. And for me, like when I'm stressed, it causes problems for me, because I like being like properly focused. And when I'm stressed, it's really difficult for me to focus, especially if I'm stressed about other things. Like I want to be focused on like work, being on my grind, like YouTube and all of that. But like it's hard for me to do that when I'm worrying about, oh, my landlord's got to come over and got to sort this stuff out. But I remember that week I told myself, I'm just gonna imagine I was a father. And I was like, if I was a father right now, going and registering for tax, light work, bro. Like okay, my kids are going to be homeschooled, but like say I was like registering them for school, right? Like if your kids need to be registered for school, that needs to be done. There's no waking up being like, I'm really dreading doing this. Like it needs to be done. Or your kids need to go to school, right? Or if you need to go get like a passport or whatever it is, like your family's going on holiday or whatever it is, like that needs to go get done. Going and registering for tax, are you mad? Like that's something that needs to be done like this. And the thing is, it wasn't even that bad. I literally just needed to go and like sit there in the morning for like 2 hours and fill out the thing, and I got my tax number. Like it wasn't that bad, but I was stressed about it. I remember I just told myself, just frame your mindset, be like, you're a dad. Imagine you're a father right now. Signing up for tax, light work. Dealing with the landlord, light work. Like no problem at all. So it's really about making that frame adjustment. You really need to reframe it to be like, if I was a dad right now, these things would need to be get done like this, because now you're taking full responsibility and the actual consequences for your actions. But yeah, I would say that now the second way that you do make that transition from boyhood to manhood, right? If you want to make that transition from being a kid to actually being like a full-on established man, this is a really sucky part, but genuinely, it is about experience and competence, and you learn this. Like you can kind of see it. Obviously, like there are different levels that you can reach, and like there's different levels of competence you can reach at varying levels of speed. Let me put it that way, right? Again, I can go back to the analogy, the football analogy. You have some players that just have so much more potential than others, and they reach it like a lot quicker, and some who just don't, and for various reasons. Like there's some people who just have talent, and like it's just much easier for them to go up the ranks. And then there's also other factors such as like how hard and how consistent they're working, the people they have around them, like that are mentoring them and actually like guiding them, right? Like there are many different things that will go into that, and the same thing applies for you, right? I've spoken about this earlier before, and then that's why I love this topic of coming of age, right? Is that like people talk in the self-improvement space about making your life a video game. Personally, for me, I love sports, so I think about like being an athlete, because athletes, they've made video games based on sports. So it's like athletes are literally living like a real life video game. It's like, oh, they go and they train and their stats go up. They need to do this and that to make sure they stay in shape, and then they need to improve on this. And I love seeing like an athlete, like, let me talk about Ronaldo, right? Like Ronaldo, when he was like younger and he'd come to like the Premier League, he was this like skinny, scrawny teenager with like lots of potential. He had skills and stuff, but he was quite skinny, and he was playing in the Premier League, and it was like, bro, you need to put on some muscle. So what did he do? Like literally within a year, the bro got jacked. He got jacked, right? And then you realize like his finishing wasn't that great, because he wasn't scoring goals like the way he wanted to. And he was like, bro, like he literally just decided, I'm gonna start like left foot, right foot headers. Like he went like, I need to make sure I can shoot really well with my right foot. I need to make sure I can shoot really well with my left foot. I need to make sure I can score headers. And that was all he practiced. Not all he practiced. He's a professional footballer. Obviously, he needs to go do fitness and like pass and all of that crap. But like genuinely, like as an improvement point, that was all he was focusing on. And then he improved it. And now look at him. He's literally one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, right? Like he's insane. Just like that, he was like, I need to improve this. I'm gonna go improve this, right? So to go back to the point I was making is that like it really is just time, like experience and competence, right? So you need to spend time just going at it, and it sucks. You really have to be patient, but you need to be patiently building. You need to be consistently improving, figuring out the points in your life that you need to improve on, and you improve on those. And going back to the first point about like taking responsibility and like seeing yourself as like a father, like when you see a problem, literally I'll picture, I'm like, be like Ronaldo, bro. Like Ronaldo was insane. Like he had a point where he realized I need to improve my dribbling, so he would train with ankle weights. He'd put weights on his ankles, and then he'd dribble and like do step overs and stuff, because obviously like now when you're playing in the game, you're not gonna have ankle weights, so like your feet are a lot faster. Just things like that, like just literally treating yourself like it's a video game. Like yeah, I need to improve this point, so I'm gonna do this, right? That's how you need to be in your life. And then obviously you need to do that that takes time. Like building the kind of competence takes time and consistent action, right? But I think it's important to remember this one thing I heard from Jordan Peterson, which makes perfect sense, where he said that like trajectory is a lot more important than position, right? Like where you're going is way more important than where you are right now. So like just making sure you carry on building. And as I said, it's not only like the patience and waiting for time to pass, but you also need to be consistently improving over that time. And before you know it, like you will be levels ahead of where you were before. But yeah, another point that I really find interesting, I spoke about like the different levels of self-improvement. Yeah, just to give you a brief breakdown on the 3 stages of self-improvement. The first one, I think I called it enlightenment phase, and that's the phase where you kind of you have this whole new world opened up to you. Like, oh damn, like I can actually change my life. Like I can go to the gym and like get jacked. Like I can build like a business and actually like start making money. Like I can look smacks. Like I can do all these things, and like you're enlightened, so everything is fun. It's all fresh and it's new, and you do something, you see improvements because you know you've never done anything to improve yourself before, right? The second phase is the awkward phase. That's like the phase you'd probably be stuck in. A lot of us would be stuck in, where you know the things you need to be doing, but like now you're really struggling to like be consistent with them. You're struggling to do them consistently enough to actually see like proper improvements. Like yes, okay, like I'll use the gym example. Like yes, oh, you started going to the gym in your enlightenment phase and you never touched a weight in your life. So like, you know, within like a month, you know, you went like to the gym like 2 or 3 times a week. And because it was new, like it was fun. Like, oh, I went to the gym today. Like, oh, that's so sick. I'm gonna gain muscle. And then, oh, tomorrow's a rest day. And then Wednesday is here, and like you're gonna go again. And it's like it's fun. Like it's very easy to be consistent because everything is fresh, right? And also, like everything you're touching is like turning to gold. Basically, like you're improving consistently. Like you've gone to the gym a month and you've already gained more muscle than you've ever had your whole life because you've never been to the gym before. You've lost weight and stuff. But then the second phase is awkward because now to actually make proper like a proper jump, like now it's no longer just like, oh, you know, I got a little bit of muscle and stuff. Now it's like, oh crap, I need to go like lose these love handles. Like I need to get abs. Like I need to get proper abs. I need to build like proper muscle. Like my shoulders aren't developed enough. Like things that need to be consistent. And now to do that, you need to be like consistently on the gym like 4 or 5 times a week, every week for like, you know, the whole year or something. And you need to be eating consistently and stuff. Like now you need to be proper. And if you fail to be consistent, you're gonna struggle to make serious improvements. And that applies for more than just that. It also applies for like your business, right? It's like, oh, enlightenment phase, you know, you were kind of just doing a little bit of like, I don't know, whatever it is, like freelancing or whatever it is, and you made like a couple, you know, I don't know, like 10, 15, $20, whatever it is. But like now you want to jump to that level where you're making like consistent income, right? And now you need to be very consistent, and now you need to actually think like really hard to actually jump to that next level. Like that's the awkward phase, and that's where the difficulty is, because now the fun is over. Like it's no longer just like easy to do things, and secondly, the results aren't coming as quickly now. Like now it's getting difficult to like see where your trajectory is, and it's like you've seen the success curves where it's like it's not like this, it's kind of like this, and then you go down and then you shoot up and stuff, and it's like you're at that point now where it's like choppy and like you go down a little bit and then you shoot up if you keep working hard, but like it's difficult. And then stage 3 is the autonomous phase. That's the phase where like self-improvement isn't even something that's at the front of your head. It's not like in the awkward phase where it was like, oh, I didn't wake up and go to the gym today, I feel really bad, I should have, or you know, I didn't eat well today or anything like that. Like you're at the point now where like all your habits are established. Like you picture like a really, really established man, like picture like a Harvey Specter, James Bond, whatever it is. Like, okay, let's use James Bond because that's like, you know, that's a famous analogy, right? Everyone knows who he is. It's like James Bond isn't waking up, is he thinking? He's not tracking his calories, bro. Let's just put it that way. He's not tracking his calories. Like he wakes up and he has a certain way he eats. Like he has certain meals that he eats. He's not trying to like motivate himself to be like, oh no, don't eat the chocolate today, bro. Like his habits are established and he eats a certain way and he doesn't think about it. He wakes up and he's thinking about his mission, he's thinking about his purpose. That's his thing. And going to the gym, again, he's not busy looking at these things like, oh, I didn't go to the gym yesterday, I feel bad or anything like that. It's like he has his routine. He goes to the gym when he goes to the gym. Maybe some days he's not able to go to the gym because he needs to go work like hard on his purpose, and that's fine, but he's not beating himself inside about it. You know, like he's fine. Like his habits are established, and that's like the phase you want to get to. So if you want to make that jump from like stage 2 to stage 3, yeah, you need, like I said, you need to make that jump. You can go watch the video I made. I didn't go into this in depth, but yeah, making that jump from stage 2 to stage 3 is, you guessed it, an identity change. Like you really need to change your identity and see yourself as like I said, like James Bond, that kind of figure who's like focused on his purpose. And like the shift will go from like, you know, looking at like gym, like, oh, I'm tracking my calories, I'm going to the gym like every day and everything. Like that's my big thing, right? Because when you first get into self-improvement, that is the big thing. But when you want to get to like stage 3 and you actually want to like change your life, you realize that like, oh crap, gym is cool and stuff, but it cannot be like my number 1 priority unless, you know, you're making it like your business or whatever. It can't be your number 1 priority. It should just be kind of something that you just do it. It's like a by the way. It's like, oh yeah, I wake up in the morning first and I go to the gym, or go to the gym later in the evening or whatever it is. But it's just part of your routine. But it's not like your day isn't determined by whether or not you went to the gym, right? It's like, oh, I have this big problem I need to deal with in relation to my business or work or whatever it is, my purpose. That's what's taking up my brain matter. That's taking up my brain space. And it's making that transition. Again, picture yourself being a father. Like, you're not just gonna, like, when you're a father, it's like the number 1 goal in your life isn't gym, bro. You have other problems, and gym is kind of just like something you do. But yeah, that was my take on this topic. You guys let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self Improvement Brotherhood. And until next time, see you boys.